The jungle swallowed him whole. One moment, Sergeant Kyle Reeve was descending through a thick layer of mist. The next, he vanished beneath a green canopy so dense it choked out the sun. His boots hit the muddy floor of Xyrix 9 with a muted splash. He crouched, rifle angled low, and froze. No movement. No sound but the constant drip of condensation from leaves larger than his torso. The simulation had begun. Far above, aboard the Accord's observation vessel Celestial Mandate, hundreds of alien dignitaries watched his arrival on holoscreens, sipping nutrient gels and laughing politely. A single human sniper, wearing outdated armor, dropped into the galaxy's most treacherous jungle? Absurd. They sent one? Yerzal's voice slithered through the command feed. I thought humans had at least learned swarm tactics by now. Kyle didn't hear them. He didn't care. He listened to the jungle. Humidity coated his skin under the ghillie mesh. The suit looked like moss, crawled like it too. Every movement had to blend into the chaos around him. A single misstep, one snap of a branch, and sensors would triangulate him in seconds. Not that he was worried. Alien tech hated Xyrix 9. The planet jammed sensors, corrupted thermal scans, and echoed audio with such precision that even advanced AI got confused. But human eyes? Ears? Instincts honed in Earth's own wilds? That was a different game entirely. He moved. Slowly. One foot behind the other. Heel to toe. Shifting weight with the grace of a predator. He kept low, letting the leaves brush against his helmet like whispers. His breath matched the rhythm of the rainfall, soft, constant, forgettable. He tapped a button on his chest. No HUD, no drone link, just a pulse from the outdated biometric module in his wrist. Heartbeat steady. Cortisol low. Focused. Then voices. They slithered through the underbrush, buzzing with static distortion. Not human, Jorvax. Their vocal cords process sound differently, vibrating more like an insect hum than speech. Thermal's unstable, one said, irritated. Their tech is primitive. Let's flush him out and be done, said another. Kyle slid behind a tree wider than a cargo hauler. The bark was slick with iridescent mold that smelled like battery acid. He took a knee, lifted the rifle to his cheek, and peered through the analog scope. He saw them. 3 Jorvax hunters in shimmering stealth cloaks, flickering now thanks to the electromagnetic chaos around them. Their weapons pulsed with plasma charge. Overconfident. Rushing. Relying on systems that didn't work here. Kyle didn't smile. He simply adjusted windage. I say we make an example, said the tallest one, stopping 5 feet from Kyle's line of sight. Skin the primate simulation style and tag the kill. A small red bug landed on the alien's eye socket and bit. The Jorvax swatted, annoyed. That was all Kyle needed. His fingers squeezed the trigger with the grace of a man touching the surface of a still lake. Pfft. Silence. The slug exited the barrel at subsonic speed, no flare, no heat signature, no warning. The Jorvax collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. No alarm, no scream. Kyle shifted positions immediately. 2 slow rolls left. Rifle down. He slid under a tangle of wet roots and waited. The remaining aliens spun, confused. Goran's down! Where's the shot from? Too late. They had no bearing. Their gear told them nothing. Their eyes were scanning the wrong angles. They thought like technocrats. Kyle wasn't in the system. He was the jungle now. Back aboard the Celestial Mandate, the room had grown silent. An Accord diplomat murmured, He just took out a Jorvax elite with a projectile weapon. How quaint. Yerzal's mandibles clicked in frustration. Where's the body signal? No data. It's being jammed by the planet. No. It's him. He's using the chaos as a cloak. Kyle reached into his pouch and pulled out a small blue jungle flower. He tucked it into the fallen alien's collar, just visible to the other hunters if they found him. Psychological warfare. A calling card. The human ghost. He didn't need to kill them all. Just unnerve them. Make them doubt their superiority. An hour passed. Rain intensified. Thunder rolled like falling steel. Kyle moved again, this time east, toward the rocky ridge he'd spotted during descent. He wanted higher ground, a vantage point. The foliage thinned there, but the wind could mask movement. If he could set up a nest before nightfall, he'd have eyes over half the quadrant. He climbed using roots as handholds. At the top, he stopped, chest heaving quietly, eyes scanning. Below, he saw 6 different factions spread across the terrain: insectoids, reptilians, synthetics. All arrogant. All expecting a brute force approach. "We are being hunted," a Reptar commander growled in a shared channel. "By what?" asked another. "Not what. Who?" Kyle lay prone, watching, calculating. "You laughed," he whispered to no one. "Now let's see how quiet you can get." As darkness fell, the jungle sang. But deep within the thickest brush, a single man lay in wait, unseen, unknown, and undeniably human. The game had begun. And this time, Earth was watching too. Kyle lay flat on the ridge, cloaked in damp moss and near invisible under layers of mud. The rain had softened to a humid mist. His eyes stayed fixed to the scope, scanning the basin below, where 3 Jorvax operatives picked through the underbrush. One dead, 2 cautious. Not cautious enough. They still clung to tech. Their body armor shimmered faintly, trying to recalibrate stealth fields compromised by the jungle's EM static. A rookie move, trusting machines where instinct should rule. Kyle marked their spacing, too close. A single bullet wouldn't just drop one. It would speak to all. He exhaled. "Race 7 to command, we've located residual thermal around the fallen unit. Could be a decoy signature." "Scan deeper," came the reply. "Human tricks are crude. Overwhelm him." Kyle blinked once, adjusted windage, and shifted the barrel half a degree. The first shot had been a whisper. This one would be a sentence. He tapped the trigger. Pfft. The bullet tore through the shoulder of the lead alien, then ricocheted into the second's hip with a fleshy thud. Non-lethal hits. Deliberate. Let them scream. And they did. One tumbled down a slope, screeching. The other limped behind a trunk, firing wildly into shadows that never moved. Kyle had already repositioned. Back at the Accord's observation deck, murmurs rose. Footage of the takedown displayed on translucent screens. Intentional glancing shot? He's not just killing, he's sending a message. Yerzal's mandibles curled with irritation. Enough of this game. Deploy suppression drones. I want his spine. Orders relayed. Insected hover units buzzed into motion, cloaking drones scanning the jungle in pulses. They'd flood the area soon. Kyle knew his window was short. He moved low, shoulder-brushing slick roots, crawling down the ridge into a dried-out riverbed. His ghillie suit clung to every surface like it belonged. He left behind a single calling card, another flower, placed delicately in the shallow print of a Jorvax boot. A whisper in the mud, "I'm watching you." 12 clicks southeast, a different species fared no better. The Reptar tactical team, known for their brute force, had tried flushing the jungle with sound bombs. The result? Half their unit was now disoriented, one injured by panicked wildlife. Kyle had tracked their collapse from afar unseen. Not every blow needed to come from a barrel. He let the jungle do the killing when it could. Still, the Jorvax were the real threat. Yerzal would come eventually, pride dragging him down like a magnet. Kyle would be ready. As he approached a rock outcrop near the center of the grid, his hand brushed a vine, warm. Not a vine. It moved. He froze. A Xyrixan predator. 8 feet long. Camouflaged. Watching him from 6 inches away. Neither moved. Kyle's heart ticked louder than a drum. He did the one thing that kept him alive. He stopped breathing. The predator flicked a split tongue, coiling its muscular length backward. Tension peaked, then eased. It slithered past him, unbothered, vanishing into the green. Kyle waited 5 more seconds. Then moved. He found a half-collapsed tree, bark hollowed by age and rot, and slid inside. The interior was perfect, high visibility, tight angles, one escape route. A sniper's nest. He unpacked a small tripwire system from his pouch, stringing lines with razor-thin filament, invisible without perfect light. At chest level, an approaching target would trigger a micro-detonation, enough to distract, not kill. He didn't want them dead. Not yet. He wanted them to know fear. By mid-cycle, 2 more Jorvax scouts entered the zone. Kyle watched through the scope, breath slow. They moved cautiously now. Guns up, helmets sweeping. Their silence told him everything. The previous ambush had rattled them. Visual anomaly at 10 o'clock. One whispered. Possible trap? No, just a tree. Kyle almost chuckled. That tree was him. He waited. 10 seconds. 20. One step forward. A foot tapped the line. Click. The detonation was small but sharp, flaring behind them with a pop of compressed gas and flashing light. Just enough to blind them for 2 seconds. Kyle took one shot. A thigh. The alien dropped like a marionette with a snapped string. His partner turned, aimed blindly, and fired into the treetops. Kyle stayed low. Waited for the panic to peak, then disappear into confusion. He moved laterally, never forward. Let them chase shadows. Another flower, this time pressed into the grip of the fallen weapon. He left without a trace. Later that cycle, as light filtered dimly through the treetops, Yerzal descended into the field himself. Enough incompetence, he barked. You let one primitive dismantle our teams? I will not be embarrassed in front of the Accord. His armor shimmered. Customized. Shielded against static interference. The suit of a commander who never needed to bleed. Kyle watched from a perch above. He whispered into the dirt. About time. He didn't shoot. Not yet. Yerzal wouldn't fall to a distant bullet. No, this one needed to feel it. Needed to breathe in the fear, taste the jungle on his tongue, and know who brought it. Kyle marked his path. Yerzal moved like a soldier who'd never been hunted. Too confident. Too loud. He'd learn. Kyle began the long arc back toward the ridge. Every footprint covered. Every broken branch erased. He'd lead Yerzal in circles. Trap him in his own bravado. Not kill him. Crack him. Back on the observation deck, a diplomat leaned toward a Cthelan analyst. What is that human doing? He's crafting a narrative. Every engagement is a sentence. Every move, an underline. And Yerzal? He's the climax. Whether he knows it or not. In the jungle, night crept in again. Kyle reached his original perch, the ridge where it began. He looked down on the terrain now riddled with footprints, confusion, scattered gear. He lay prone, still as bone. Through the scope, he watched Yerzal walk into the circle Kyle had been carving all day. He didn't fire. Not yet. He smiled and whispered, Next chapter's yours, Commander. Rain hammered the canopy in uneven sheets. Branches dripped. The jungle breathed heavy. Kyle Reeve waited. He was 20 feet above the forest floor, crouched on a massive branch, spine pressed against the trunk. His rifle rested across his thighs, untouched for hours. No scope. No sound. Just stillness. Below him, Yerzal advanced, slow but agitated, swiping thick leaves aside with impatient strikes of his clawed gauntlet. His enhanced armor hissed with micro-adjustments, attempting to recalibrate temperature and gravity readings in real time. But the jungle didn't care. Xyrix 9 disrupted everything. Even pride. Kyle's fingers twitched, not from nerves, but calculation. The Jorvax commander was inside the loop now. Kyle had spent nearly a full cycle guiding him here through a trail of indirect clues, discarded gear, bent branches, fleeting footprints. Yerzal thought he was the predator. He wasn't. But Kyle had a real problem now. Not the commander. Something else had entered the loop. It started 3 hours earlier. He'd been tracking the Reptar team from the treetops, matching their position with a herd of native quadrupeds, scale-armored beasts that grazed in loud packs. The perfect cover. He was just about to slip past when he saw it. Movement that didn't belong. A shadow that matched his pacing. It moved like him. Watched like him. It was above the raptors. Silent. Patient. Predatory. He pulled back and zoomed in. The shape resolved into a Xyrixan jungle stalker, an apex species Kyle had only read about in debriefs. Rare. Thought to be extinct. 8-limbed. Chameleon skin. No heat signature. It was following him. Not the raptors. Him. Now, hours later, Kyle could feel it again. Watching. It hadn't attacked. It was testing him, as if curious how he hunted. And if he made one mistake, one lazy step, he'd be the lesson. Yirzal broke a branch loudly below, snarling. "Coward!" the commander growled, voice amplified by his helmet. "Come out and fight like a soldier." Kyle didn't respond. Not to bait. Not to noise. Instead, he moved sideways along the branch, careful not to disturb the moss lining. He dropped a distraction, a tiny sonic bead that mimicked movement 20 meters west. It clicked twice and hissed. Yirzal snapped his head toward it, raising his cannon. He fired. The blast lit the jungle, vaporizing a tree. "Got you!" But he hadn't. Kyle was already descending, rope in hand, dropping silently into the underbrush just behind the commander. And still, that presence watched. He hit the ground in a crouch and froze. Just for a second. That's when he saw it. No more than 6 meters away, half merged with the vegetation, was the stalker. It hadn't moved, but its body had subtly shifted, as if reacting to Kyle's drop. The way it held its head, tilted slightly toward him, made his spine tighten. It wasn't hostile. Not yet. Kyle didn't reach for his weapon. He knew better. Instead, he knelt low, avoiding eye contact. The predator remained motionless, unblinking. Its camouflage was perfect. Too perfect. Then he realized, it wasn't interested in Yirzal. It wasn't hunting him. It was studying the hunt. Kyle's hunt. Back at the Accord vessel, the analysts were confused. "There's another heat void near the human," one technician noted. "Could be armor," said another. "No. It's too organic. Not emitting radiation. Not breathing?" Yirzal's channel blared. "Command, my scanners are useless. Visual only. I've lost 2 more to ghost strikes. Confirm if the human is duplicating himself." Kyle, still low, exhaled once and moved left. The predator's head turned slightly to track him. Still no attack. He realized something then. This wasn't about dominance. It was recognition. The jungle, brutal and ancient, respected predators. And Kyle wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. Matching the rhythm of the forest. Waiting, striking, vanishing. The stalker wasn't hunting him. It was learning from him. Minutes passed. Kyle turned his attention back to Yirzal, who had started shouting into the jungle again, frustrated. "Show yourself! You hide like vermin! Are all humans this weak?" Kyle frowned. "No. Weak was relying on a suit to fight your battle. Weak was making noise to feel powerful." Kyle lifted his rifle. But not to shoot. Not yet. He aimed beside the commander, precisely to a vine net trap Kyle had rigged earlier. A warning shot. Pfft. The bullet struck the trigger point. Net launched. Yirzal was too slow. He flailed, snarled, arms tangled. His cannon clattered against the forest floor. Kyle stepped into view for the first time in 2 days. Face streaked with mud, rifle cradled low. He didn't speak. Yirzal froze, upside down in the net, eyes wide. "You!" Kyle knelt, inches from his target, and placed a single jungle flower in the soil beside him. "You're not the biggest problem in this jungle," he said quietly. And with that, he disappeared again. Back in the treetops, Kyle finally allowed himself to rest. For 3 minutes, nothing more. The stalker was gone. Not vanished. Just somewhere else. Watching. He'd earned its approval. Or at least, its interest. From above, Accord cameras zoomed in on the flower. That's his signature again. He didn't kill the commander. He didn't need to. Yirzal was recovered by drone 15 minutes later, humiliated, silent. The Accord had their footage. Kyle had made his point. The jungle, and the council, now knew what Earth's camouflage truly meant. Rain returned before dawn. The kind that came sideways, slicing through leaves and skin with stinging precision. Kyle Reeve blinked into the wind, unmoving, eyes behind the scope once more. This was the endgame. His trap had taken 30 hours to build. Not with wires or explosives, those were too simple. No, this was psychological architecture. A loop of misdirection, ego pricking, and controlled visibility. Yirzal had been maneuvered inch by inch into a kill zone shaped not by maps, but by expectation. Kyle called it the theater. From the observation deck above the planet, diplomats watched in tense silence. The Jorvak's commander had gone dark hours ago. Every other species elite squad had already withdrawn. Defeated. Confused. Some called for a ceasefire. But the Accord Council wanted proof. Not retreat. Not debate. They wanted to know whether Earth belonged among warriors. And Kyle would answer in a language they couldn't misinterpret. A bullet. Yirzal stood in the center of a natural basin, a low stretch of soft mud surrounded by ancient, half-fallen trees and thorn vines. His armor, scratched and dented, sputtered intermittent diagnostics. He spun slowly, scanning with wide, unblinking eyes. "I know you're near, human," he hissed. "You hide like prey. I came for a soldier." Kyle's voice replied, soft and calm, from a hidden speaker 20 meters away. "No. You came to be seen. Let's give them a show." Yirzal spun and fired at the source. Plasma scorched a tree trunk. Nothing behind it but bark and fog. Kyle was prone, 50 degrees northeast, nestled in a tangle of lichen and thorns, invisible even without tech. Rifle angled down, breath steady. He waited. The commander paced. "You think this proves something? You crawl through dirt like a savage and call it skill?" Kyle checked wind. 2 knots, cross breeze from the west. "This jungle leveled the playing field," he muttered under breath. "You brought a battlesuit to a whisper fight." He focused in. Yirzal's gait was slower now. His limbs trembled. Not from pain, he hadn't been physically hurt. This was fear. A new muscle for him. Untrained. Weak. Kyle adjusted elevation by half a degree. Scope view pulsed once. Center mass. He hesitated. Not because he couldn't shoot. Because it wasn't about shooting anymore. Yirzal had already lost. So Kyle lifted his cheek from the rifle and waited. Let the commander come closer. Closer. Then he stood. Straight up. In full view. Above, alarm screamed. "Human contact confirmed." "Is he exposing himself?" "Why?" 1,000 voices buzzed through feeds and diplomatic channels. Yirzal stared. Kyle stood 10 meters away, rifle pointed low. No mask. No helmet. Just rainwater and mud dripping from his chin, face hard as steel. "You're not ready," Kyle said. Yirzal roared and charged. That was the last mistake. Kyle stepped left smoothly, like slipping past a handshake. The rifle rose. One breath. One pull. Crack. Not the silencer. Not this time. A sharp, deafening boom ripped through the jungle. Yirzal collapsed mid-lunge. Shot straight through the knee joint. The armor crumpled around the impact, locking his leg in an unnatural twist. He screamed, fell to the mud, clawing at the air. Kyle walked to him. No hurry. He stopped just out of reach and crouched. "You're not dead," he said. "This is mercy. Next time, we don't use simulation rounds." Yirzal spat, face contorted. Rain soaked his mandibles. "Why didn't you finish me?" Kyle's eyes didn't blink. "Because your people already saw everything they needed to." He stood again. And Earth doesn't need to prove anything else. Above, the Accord chamber erupted. Some cheered. Some watched in mute disbelief. The Reptar Envoy stood. He hunted your elite and spared your general. That's dominance. The Jorvax delegate said nothing. A moment later, the Accord's presiding speaker tapped the judgment node. Simulation concluded. Human victory. Earth confirmed for tactical integration. Gasps. It wasn't just approval. It was entry into galactic respect. Kyle didn't celebrate. He didn't return to the dropship right away. Instead, he knelt in the mud beside the still twitching Yerzal, pulled a jungle flower from his pouch, and tucked it beside the alien's shoulder. Next time, he whispered, bring someone who listens. He turned, rifle slung across his back. The jungle swallowed him once more. 3 days later, back on Earth, a clip of the moment Kyle stood in front of the Jorvax commander played across every news outlet. No sound. Just the image of a human, muddy and unmoved, standing tall while the galaxy's strongest warrior screamed in the dirt. The caption below read, "They laughed at Earth's camouflage. They're not laughing anymore."